It's been a while since I've actually done a gig. This specific recording, I recorded it before I actually made my latest video of the tour of my house, but it's kind of the same situation. I got a new house now, so there's been some changes. Obviously, the location of my studio and where my gear is set up. I have a lot of gear, so I don't really have a good storage system yet, but all I've done is add two white 6 foot tables and just kind of set everything up there, my charging station, and leave some space so I can set up my cameras or whatever I need to set up. It's not the most elegant way of doing things, but I think it works fine. There's plenty of space as well, so I don't need to like cram everything into like one corner and move things around like I used to in the apartment. But, it works perfectly fine. Here I am doing a little bit of cleaning because I need to clean a little more. When I was at the apartment, I barely cleaned just because I didn't have the time and there was no space to clean. So I'm trying to keep this house as clean as I can. Obviously, it's a house now, it's not an apartment, so it's all my responsibility. I'm currently setting up for a wedding, and later on, I'm going to set up for another gig with Double Jump Media. Again, we'll be traveling to San Diego, and it's gonna be like one day right after my wedding, basically. So it's like really quick turnaround, and it's not the most ideal, but it's just the way things run sometimes. During the move, I haven't had any gigs, so this is my first gig after I moved in. It's about a month worth of not getting paid. It did help me move in and kind of settle down a little bit quicker, but not having an income is kind of tough. My hourly job decided to shut down, so I kind of lost a job through that. I didn't get paid much and I didn't get much hours, but regardless, it was something on the side which I can get a little bit of income and some gas money here and there, a little bit of food. So that kind of made things tough. Right here, I'm balancing my gimbal with my ND filter on. In the end, I actually switched to my other ND filter. And this is the Canon R5C. This lives on my gimbal when I do weddings. And I kind of love this camera. It's pretty simple to use, just like the C70. I end up taking my ND filter off because I want my lens cap on, and the Tiffin ND filter doesn't really allow that. That's why I kind of switched. I originally had the other ND filter so I could put a lens cap on. So my main camera is the C70, and this just kind of lives on my monopod, and I put it on my tripod whenever we're doing the ceremonies. I currently have it set up to put a phone onto the camera so I could record behind the scenes, but I didn't like how it looked. I didn't like how I had to manage things, so I'm kind of switching it back to the way I usually have it. So I'm taking off my 50mm rods that kind of holds my boom mic, and I'm just going to put the mic onto the camera like I usually would. So instead, I got a 360 camera. This is the Insta360 X3 camera, and I've kind of bought this Peak Design sling bag so I can kind of attach the 360 camera right onto the sling, and I don't have to worry about positioning the camera properly with the horizontal line, and I can just adjust that later. And I've kind of set up this bongo tie setup where I can just like tie the camera onto the strap, and then it just kind of hangs on the front of me, maybe kind of over my shoulder, and it worked quite well. I did capture the BTS from the wedding I was at, but I think the setup of my camera wasn't in the greatest spot, so I don't think that will be released. I've also fashioned a USB cable to kind of stick out and send its way to a USB power bank, and that kept the battery charged all day, and I could just simply power through that. Here I am testing it out. I've done a few tests already, and I think this one worked out the best, but actually it didn't. So the wedding, like I said earlier, it didn't work out because I think it was too high. You kind of see my chin a lot, and then my little goatee kind of blocked the way too. So I bought this Falcom F50 base plate here, so I can actually like snap on my camera to the tripods or monopods, and it is so much better. I've completely started to hate the sliding the tripod plates into the tripods, and there's been several occasions where I just wished it snapped on instead of slide in, and I'm glad there was a solution like this out there. I didn't have the money to go and buy Sackler gear. Here's the Pelican case that I take every wedding. I packed this with basically everything. All my audio stuff is in here. My other two cameras is in here. My lenses are in here. So it's really heavy. The wedding I went at, the dude picked it up and he's like, he had to move it because they're setting up catering, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is heavier than my paycheck." So he was kind of making sure it was safe. But it's a hard case, so it's really strong. It's not Pelican, it's Apache, but same thing. Well, I have my 80D in here. The only other camera needs to be in here is my EOS R, which I'm recording on right now. So it kind of compacts everything really nicely. I have extra batteries. I have a bunch of stuff. But right after I'm done with the wedding, I have to like tear this case down and pack it up for the other gig. So it kind of sucks in that way because you spend so much time setting up this and that, and then you have to like get rid of all your nice preparations. I have this H1N in my hand, and that's just a backup. Even though I don't actually use it, I bring it just in case I need a backup to like record straight out of the speakers or if something goes wrong. So here I am setting up my Zoom F8N for the second gig right after the wedding. It kind of sucks because I can't bring my bag because we're going on an airplane. So, you can't really just bring a bag like that on an airport. So I kind of have to like fashion some sort of system where I can pack this into my hard case and still use it portably enough on set. So luckily the recorder is actually, a pretty good size, so it does fit quite well. But I've tried a bunch of different little tests, and I was trying to see if I can like just leave the recorder in the case and just bring the case around. But that just kind of like left things more like terrible, honestly. It didn't work out well. I put AA batteries in here because, it's kind of good to have a backup in case your V-mount batteries or other power source you're using goes out in some way. And there you go, I dropped the battery. But it is a good backup. It's not a good main source of battery because it probably only lasts like an hour. So like you cannot rely on the batteries, on the AA batteries, as you would like a V-mount, or if you use a gold mount or anything with DTAP really, because that's what I use. I just happen to have V-mounts, so I just use the V-mount batteries to power my F8N and my other receivers. I also put AA batteries into my Electrosonic receivers because, again, those are backups as well. They definitely don't last long, and if you leave them in there like without taking them out, they do drain the battery. I've found out the hard way, and when my V-mount died, the receivers died as well, so I wasn't able to record anything. So, backup's always good. So here I'm plugging in all the devices that require the DTAP power, my F8N, my two Electrosonic receivers, and just basically making sure it works. And I'm kind of trying to find an ergonomic solution so the cable doesn't dangle around or anything like that. And I think what I was thinking was just kind of attach it to the very top of the recorder like that with double-sided tape. In this case, I use Command Strip, which works perfectly fine. And right here, I'm looking at it. I'm thinking this will work. This is basically how my bag is set up, so it's going to be perfectly fine. And I'm going to be connecting my XLR cables just to ensure, there's good space, there's good room, everything works perfectly fine. At the same time, I need to take out my other wireless system, which is the Sennheiser G3 units, because at least one more is going to be plugged in, and that's going to be kind of dangling around, which I just kind of throw in my pocket just so it doesn't dangle around. So I'm just making sure everything is working and nothing is wrong. The last video, I kind of said that my Electrosonic units, the the blue unit was kind of acting up on the transmitter and probably the receiver. I didn't know what was wrong with it. New frequencies didn't work. I had no idea, but for some reason it is working now. And I think it worked during the set. And it did work when we went to San Diego. So here is the final look of it. It's not command stripped on yet, but that's basically how it's going to look. And this is all I'm bringing to San Diego, basically. I will be bringing extra stuff, backups, batteries, of course. I do bring my Zoom F2s and do put them onto the Talons just for backup. But yeah, prepare for that video. Thanks for watching.